Welcome to Munch the Crunch, where we invest so you don't have to test.
Munch the Crunch.
All right, our first item we're going to start with is Doritos Nacho Cheese. This is a popular one in the vending machines on our main hall. What do you guys think of them? You ever had Doritos?
I've
Nacho
had some
cheese?
of them.
You've had some, Eddie?
I've never had it.
Never had Doritos Nacho Cheese. So this is the first experience. Let's get this bag open. There it is. All right, we're going to grab a chip out. Here you are, Andrew. You want to grab one? Now, I always feel like you either get a whole chip, a curly chip, or like a fraction of a chip. Those are the only options. There's never any half chips or anything else. There's either you get a whole chip, you get one that's folded over, or you just get one that's just completely shattered. And you either get too much powder, barely any powder, or no powder at all. I mean, like, mine's sort of covered. I don't know. I think we're just going to dive into this. 3, 2, 1. Mm-hmm.
That's a nice crunch.
Wow, good crunch, good sound.
I'm gonna rate the crunch a 5 or 6
Out of?
out of 10.
We're doing a 10 scale?
I think 10's good.
I'm going with a 10 scale.
The texture,
Starts to get soggy.
yeah.
Starts to kind of fall apart. Eddie, you're making interesting faces for it being your first chip.
Giving
Or
it
first
like a,
Dorito chip.
like a 3 out of 10.
Wow.
I rate the crunch a 3 out of 10. It's just not that good.
It's just, yeah. I mean, it's there for the beginning of it. And, I mean, we're going with, you want to eat these in the classroom. You want to have a nice, subtle setting. And, I mean, we did sort of audible crunches. You could definitely do it more stealthy. But as a base level crunch, you did it with your mouth slightly open. It's a little noisy. I mean, I put that at about a 6 in terms of how much noise that's going to make.
I feel like if you just go straight into it, it would be a 6. But if you just let it sit there and let your saliva just do its work, I think it might go down to a 3 or a 4.
Yeah, I'm sitting at around, overall rating, we're around a 5 for me.
Same with me.
I'm feeling 4.
Yeah, and you got to take into consideration the price. These are $175 at the vending machines, which is a little more than you could probably get if you got a box of 20 at like Sam's Club. I mean, the unit price on those is probably closer to $1. So yeah, for the price compared to what you're getting out of it, you're definitely getting an all right texture out of it and an all right crunch. But for $1.75, I think we're pushing the limit.
Yeah, I wouldn't. That's more of a bulk buy than just just a personal.
I'm on there. They're good for a party. Definitely good for a party, but sitting in the classroom, walking down the hallway, I'm just not a Doritos nacho cheese kind of guy. All right, next we're going to move into the cheddar sun chips. Now, these are served at lunch about once a week every now and again, so these are free. Go ahead and give us that bag open. All right, good. Let's go ahead and get a chip going. Okay, and so with these, normally you get a full chip. You don't really get really any folded chips, but you do often get broken ones because they're a little thin. They are definitely thin because they get stretched out as they're pressed into this wavy shape. And they're a little pale looking. They lack color, but that's also usually when the best flavor comes into play. So let's go into it. 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and say it. I hit the mouth on the way in.
Okay.
I'm not enjoying that. Not enjoying that. That's a health hazard. That's dangerous to kids. I will go ahead and say it. I'll be in the middle of class and I bite into one of these chips and I cut the roof of my mouth open. That's 10 or 15 minutes of class I'm missing bleeding out into the bathroom sink.
But is it worth it, though?
Well, let's start with crunch. I'm going to go ahead and give that one, honestly, a 2. In terms of how enjoyable that crunch was, that was
I feel
about
like
a 2.
Overall, for me, the crunch would probably be about maybe less than the Doritos, maybe like a 5 for me.
Wow. Okay.
Because like it had a crunch to it, but it just didn't have like. It was more of a soggy, like not a big crunch and like breaking to it. It was just like tiny bits.
Yeah.
How about you, Eddie?
I'm going to have to give that a 2. It felt like I was like breaking apart wet toilet paper with my
Yeah.
teeth.
It like felt pre-soggy too. So, I mean, but we're getting them for free. So that's something to take into consideration, that we are getting these for free, but we're only getting them about once every week. And loudness. Yeah, loudness is not terrible. I mean, so that's about a 3 in loudness.
Yeah.
That's not that high.
It's fair.
I think it shattering itself really does help with the loudness. It's not really big pop.
Yes. So taking into the fact that they're free every week, which does definitely bump it up there for me. You know, they're definitely there is the flavor there. I'll put these at a nice comfortable 7.
7. I'll go about a 6.
I'm not gonna agree at all. I'm giving these a 2.
Wow. Eddie's on the opposite end of the spectrum. All right. Our next bag that we're going to dip into is, and I'm not too excited for this, is the Cheetos Flaming Hot Tangy Chili Fusion. With on the bag depictions of flames, and the little tiger is either yelling or he's screaming in pain. I'm interested to hear how this sounds. I mean, you're going to hear me rustling the bag around. So the bag itself is pretty noisy. That's something we got to take into consideration. Here's the opening. Wasn't too much of a hassle to get open. And wow, going and looking at these look dangerous. But I'm not going to look at them too much. Going ahead and just pass the bag around.
I'm just going to tell you guys, I do love me some spicy stuff.
Now, I can smell this, and it's not even near my
I can smell it
nose.
from the bag. I'm
Wow.
halfway across the table.
So maybe, I mean, we didn't intend to consider smell, but this is something to consider with the classroom. These may be disruptive because of their smell. But let's just.
Everyone cry.
I am shivering. I am cowering in fear at the sight of this chip.
It is dangerous.
I don't think I can do it.
Let's just go into it. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, wow. You can taste the spice right as you bite into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice finger licker, too.
Yeah, definitely stings. Gonna cause me to kind of choke up on my words, and if I was in class and I was munching on goodness, and the teacher called on me, I'd be struggling to answer a question. So, yeah, that's something to consider. Wow, those definitely hit hard. So, in terms of crunch, they actually crunched pretty well for Cheetos. I mean, that was. For me, a solid 8. They had a really good closing. As my teeth went together, I could just feel them kind of crumble apart, and it just felt like I could clench and grab onto that.
Well, for me, it felt like it was the same deal with the Sun Chips, was that they're kind of like soggy from, well, that depends on like which Cheeto you get in the bag, because mine was kind of small, so I didn't get that full aspect of the crunch. So
Yeah.
I was going to rate mine about the same as a Doritos, like a 5 or 6, because it just didn't pop like I thought it would be.
That's fair. Eddie?
I was scared of the chip originally, but I've turned around. I love it. I embrace it entirely. That
Wow.
was the best crunch ever.
You're the tough guy.
Where are you putting that crunch at?
9.
A 9.
9?
Eddie has gone from rating probably the most crucial and harsh ratings on this podcast so far to a 9 for Cheetos. Wow. And in terms of how loud they were, I think you could because of their size, you could definitely pop them in and completely chew with your mouth closed. Would not be a problem at all. But they do cause you to kind of choke up, and you're going to probably be breathing a little more audibly. So I think that adds to the loudness aspect, and opening the bag wasn't that bad either. I'm going to go ahead and pop these down at a 2 for loudness. These are very subtle and sneaky chips.
For the crunch level being an 8, its loudness is a...
Well, crunch has nothing to do with how loud it is. It's crunch is, how does it make me feel as I bite into this chip? Do I feel crunchy?
Oh, so we're going with that crunch.
Crunch is the inner crunch,
Crunch is the
of
experience.
yourself.
Got
Crunch
it.
is what makes a chip a chip.
Yeah, for loudness, I would, about a 3 for me.
Wow. Eddie?
I'm going to say the same. 3.
Awesome. Overall for me, but I'm not a big fan of spice, but I did enjoy the flavor. Those sit comfortably at around a 6.
Overall for me, I believe that's about a 5 with the Doritos.
Nice.
I think I'm going to have to go with an 8 overall. They're just
Wow.
really good.
So Eddie has put Cheetos at the top of his list, crowning them champion overall. And I think for most of us, those were the best experience. They were subtle. They were flavorful. They weren't too loud. Opening them wasn't that bad. And especially if you're someone who can tolerate spice, you won't have a problem talking at all after eating one of those. That concludes the chip eating podcast. This has been Munch the Crunch. I'm Carter. There's Andrew. There's Eddie.
The Cheeto Gang.
Yeah.
Officially the Cheeto Gang, crowning Cheetos Flamin' Hot top of the school's vending machine and lunchroom chip list. Now you know. If you didn't before, we'll see you next time.